dark. Red and blue views, truth in the middle. No script, just thought raw and a little civil. Every question's got layers, so we peel back facts. From the real to the surreal, we don't hold back. Voices collide where ideas ignite. You tuned in, now step into the fight. This is more than talk, this is thought that counts. Welcome to the feed where the signal mounts.
Welcome to a deep dive tailored just for you. Today, we're plunging into something a little different, maybe a lot more. Well, live. We've got excerpts from a YouTube live stream transcript.
Yeah, this isn't your typical polished article or research paper stack.
No, definitely not. This source is raw, unfiltered. It's presented as, get this, a cosmic event. The goal apparently is to hit hard and leave a dent. So it's a snapshot of a very specific online space.
Right. And our mission here is, well, to navigate this incredibly dense, often kind of chaotic material. We're going to try and pull out the core themes, understand the main points of conflict, and identify the different perspectives from the speakers and the source, sort of cutting through the noise to find the underlying focus.
Exactly. Think of it like putting on, I don't know, metaphorical scuba gear, diving into this specific corner of the internet. Let's unpack this.
Okay.
So right off the bat, the source sets this incredibly self-important tone, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It calls the broadcast itself out of this world, not earthborn, like it's flying past clouds with the realist appeal. Even watching greatness.
It's intense.
It's presented as more than just a show. It's a whole new being, a cosmic event.
What's really striking there is that intense self-characterization. It's almost like a brand identity, built on being exceptional, raw, confronting truth.
Yeah.
Compared to others who they say sound tame or are just chasing clout. It tells you right away, this isn't a shy group.
And they don't waste any time jumping into some pretty heavy themes, framing their whole perspective on reality. They start with claims about a hidden power structure, a ghost government pulling all the strings, unelected, signing laws with a bloodstained fist, burying files, classifying ops, and the media just selling the hypnotized lie.
And this connects directly to that feeling of being controlled by, unseen forces. The source says they own courts, wars, and the keys to all the doors, staging terror at a higher cost, turning free men into subjects. It really paints this picture of a hidden empire.
One you can't vote in.
Exactly. You can't vote in it. It's a narrative clearly born from a profound distrust of, established systems.
Okay, then from there, the conversation in the source, it takes this really interesting turn towards the nature of reality itself being, unstable. Manipulated.
Yeah, the shattered mirrors, broken skies, reality they talk about.
Right, and they bring up things like memory glitch, what they sell, and that whole Mandela alive, Mandela dead idea.
Yes, and they use specific examples to back it up, things you might have heard of, like Fruit of the Loom with or without the thread, the cornucopia thing, Monopoly Man lost his glass eye, Kit Kat no dash, Pikachu no stripe.
Okay, the classics.
Right. They use these perceived discrepancies to argue that reality itself is either unstable, like the timeline torn ain't no way to mend, or it's being actively engineered, by invisible hands. It leads to that fundamental question they pose. Are we trapped inside their lies or just lost inside the game?
And this isn't just about fuzzy memories of brand logos.
No.
The source links this to quantum tricks, a multiverse stitch, this idea of sliding between timelines.
And scientists acting like gods on high.
So it's a worldview where the actual fabric of reality is seen as altered, maybe uncertain, possibly through some advanced hidden technology or something.
That seems to be the implication, yeah, that it's fundamentally altered. Right. Then following that whole reality discussion, there's a definite shift to the theme of borders land ownership.
Oh. Yeah.
The source frames national divisions as barbed wire around the soul. And fences slicing up a world we don't control. It really challenges the whole concept of ownership, asks, whose land is it anyway?
Right.
Because the argument goes, we all share fundamental experiences. We all cried the same first cries. We share the same environment. We breathe the same.
So it's pushing back hard against using national identity for division, calling national flags blindfolds tight.
Exactly. The source asserts the world ain't private, that we're all just stardust.
And you can't chain the blood, can't fence the flame. It's a perspective that really goes against traditional ideas of territory, division, arguing for a kind of shared humanity, universal connection.
Okay, now, this is where a huge chunk of the transcript focuses, and maybe where those earlier themes, distrust, perceived manipulation, really play out on a, well, personal level.
Right.
The bulk of the material details some really intense interpersonal conflict, accusations flying, primarily between the host of the stream, they call him OTW in the source, and another figure, Flow State.
Okay.
And several others get pulled into, Lindsay, Mike, Tum3, Chuck, Snafu Snaps, others are mentioned.
And what's fueling all this drama? What are the core issues?
It consistently seems to come back to allegations about money, scamming, lying, manipulation.
Okay, the usual online drama fuel.
Well, yeah, but then it gets into extraordinarily serious territory. Accusations about connections to predators, even government agents. It's a really tangled web of claims and counterclaims.
Wow. Okay, let's break that down. Are there specific incidents?
Yes, definitely. The source highlights a few key things. A major one seems to be a painting transaction. Involved Flow State and this Mike23 person.
A painting?
Yeah. Apparently Mike23 offered a $5 super chat, the online donation thing, as a bid for a painting.
$5. Okay. How did that go over?
Now, well, according to the source, that $5 was seen as an insult. An insult to the artist's time, energy, and talent.
I can imagine.
And the single incident just spirals. It leads to accusations that Flow State is cheap, a sleazeball, trying to break my integrity.
The picture.
Yeah.
What was Flow State's side of it, as presented in the source?
His perspective, mentioned in the source, was apparently that the art had, quote, no value determined objectively, and that putting it up for auction with no floor, no minimum bid, was a misjudgment by the seller.
Okay, so a disagreement about value and auction rules.
Right. But this seemingly small event becomes like Exhibit A for broader accusations. It gets tangled up in debates about using super chats for income, and it fuels these claims that Flow State is scamming people, that he's in damage control, or that he's trying to make himself immune. The source says exemplary himself from scrutiny about alleged scamulant behavior.
Scamio. Okay.
Yeah. The source repeatedly claims Flow State's issues always seems to have something that turns around money.
Got it. So money's a big flashpoint. Who else is involved? You mentioned the Lindsay.
Ah, yes, Lindsay. She adds another whole layer to this. The source spends quite a bit of time on claims that she was poisoning the story about Flow State. She's characterized in the source as a whole-ass liar and a grand manipulator. Pretty strong language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a specific story there too?
There is. The source recounts this incident involving Lindsay, Mike23 again, and Flow State. It happened during a super chat night where Flow State apparently made $1,500.
$1,500. Okay.
According to the account in the source, Lindsay got kicked from Flow State's online room during this.
Right.
Later, she apparently claimed she thought that Mike23 was actually a different Mike, and because she got kicked out and couldn't see the donation details, she believed Flow State got the whole $1,500 specifically from Mike23.
A misunderstanding based on being removed.
Well, the source presents her explanation that she couldn't see the details as a, quote, reasonable, rational mistake to make, but then it heavily implies it was a story crafted to make you look like a victim.
Okay. So suspicion about motives even in the explanation.
Exactly. And the source also includes this claim that Flow State allegedly told Lindsay she needed to be submissive to be allowed back on his channel.
Submissive. Wow.
Yeah. Framing the conflict with her as stemming from rejection. So you see how these personal dynamics get completely tangled up with the money and trust issues.
Definitely. It sounds messy.
Yeah.
You also mentioned Snafu Snaps and some even more serious stuff.
Right. Moving into really serious territory now. The source highlights accusations made by this Snafu Snaps person. He repeatedly calls Flow State a predator. Flat out.
Okay, that's a huge accusation.
Huge. And he links Flow State to this term monograph, alleges connections to January 6 optics, whatever that means in this context.
Right.
And claims Flow State is a POGO.
A POGO.
Yeah, the source implies it stands for privately owned government operated, or alternatively, a demoralization agent.
Privately owned government.
Okay.
And demoralization agent. What context does the source give for these claims? Especially the monograph thing.
It tries to add some context, yeah. It mentions a segment where someone is described as a whistleblower that works for the government. This whistleblower was supposedly leaking out information about Monograph. And Snafu Snaps, in the source, tries to connect Flow State to all this, claiming they are predator-tied.
Is this accepted by others in the source?
Well, it's important to note, and the source reflects this too, that other speakers express skepticism, either about Snafu's claims specifically or about the credibility of this alleged whistleblower. So it's not presented as undisputed fact within the source itself.
Got it. And the demoralization agent idea.
That term is really central to Snafu Snaps accusations, comes up multiple times. The source defines it, based on their own discussion, as someone who tries to demoralize people, often with an implied connection to, larger forces or agendas.
Like a specific tactic.
Yeah. The source discusses how constant demoralization can lead to inaction, make people give up, and it links this idea directly to Flow State's alleged behavior, at least as perceived by Snafu Snaps and some others there.
This is intense. What really stands out in all this conflict, reading the transcript, is the constant demand for receipts.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Screenshots, text messages, recordings. It seems like that's the currency of truth, right?
Totally. It's clearly the way validation and disputes happen in this online environment. Speakers are constantly challenging each other. Show the receipts. Prove it.
And accusing each other of lying when the proof isn't, immediately shown, or when the stories don't line up.
Exactly. It really underscores the low trust environment and how personal history and claims are constructed, fought over, validated, or invalidated digitally.
Yeah.
The source really lays bare the internal dynamics of this online community. You see discussions about trust, betrayal, loyalty, sometimes summed up with phrases like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
And you see them analyzing each other's communication styles, picking apart passive aggression, deflection, and constantly speculating about motives, is it for clout, profit, just drama, or darker suggestions like seeking control. The source even notes speakers suggesting others have mental health issues or are on medication.
It gets personal.
Very. And there's even this layer of meta-commentary within the source, speakers reflecting on the, quote, lore of their interactions over years.
A lore, like their shared history.
Yeah, exactly. They talk about how hard it is to move past old disagreements, and they even debate whether they prioritize finding the truth or just, validating their emotions in these fights.
That's surprisingly self-aware in the middle of all that.
Right. There's this one moment where a speaker in the source reflects that maybe truth is most valuable when understood and applied, and acknowledges there's always more to learn even when things are superheated. A little glimmer of reflection, maybe.
Did the source touch on anything else? Any other side topics?
Yeah, a few scattered things briefly, like another painting sale for someone else that fell through, a failed refund, some comments about age. Lindsay's 53 is mentioned, or appearance things like too old, too fat, not submissive enough are brought up as alleged comments made by others.
Okay, so personal attacks too.
Definitely. And moments of, let's say, dark humor or attempts at shock value comments about really sensitive topics, though it's noted that the host in the source, OTW, often pushes back against those or refuses to play linked content he thinks is inappropriate.
Okay, so even within the chaos, some lines are drawn by the host.
Seems so.
Yeah.
These other details, though maybe brief, just help paint a fuller picture of the range of talk and the kind of commentary that happens in that specific online space.
Wow. Okay. That was certainly quite the dive into a unique and turbulent source.
Turbulent is a good word for it. Yeah.
We navigated everything from these grand claims about ghost governments and like a fractured reality, all the way down to these incredibly intense personal online feuds, fueled by accusations of scamming, lying, manipulation.
And those really deep conspiracy theories leveled by Snafu Snaps.
Yeah.
And we pulled out how specific incidents like that $5 painting offer can just explode and become these central points of conflict. And how concepts like the demand for receipts or using labels like predator or the whole demoralization agent idea, how those are used to frame arguments and attack perspectives within this community.
Often with skepticism from others in the same conversation.
True. That's important too.
And you heard how the speakers in the source themselves are grappling with defining truth, trying to identify manipulation, dissecting motives, all playing out against this backdrop of broader conspiracy thinking and this fundamental questioning of reality itself. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, this deep dive really just extracted the key threads, the discussions, the complex, often really volatile conflicts that were present in that source material you shared.
So after exploring this world of shattered mirrors and online warfare, This place where these huge narratives about control and manipulated reality seem to crash right into deeply personal digital fights over money, trust, betrayal. Where does this leave you? What does the intensity, the specific kinds of accusations, that constant demand for receipts, what does all that suggest about how truth and proof in personal history are actually constructed and fought over and understood in digital communities like this one?
Mic check, one voice, one spark. From the shadows to the bright, let's light the dark. Red and blue views, truth in the middle, no script, just thought raw and a little civil. Every question's got layers, so we peel back facts. From the real to the surreal, we don't hold back. Voices collide where ideas ignite. You tuned in, now step into the fight. This is more